Welcome to this week's episode. I'm chatting to Darren White from the Nepean Ducks Gridiron team that's based out here in Penrith. We talk about all things gridiron out here in Western Sydney. A really good watch, and if you've got any interest in the sport of gridiron or maybe are a bit curious about it, this will be a really good watch because Darren is very knowledgeable in the sport as well as the team that he's the current president for. So, please enjoy. And one thing I forgot to mention, really sorry about the video quality. I am shooting a lot of these videos at the moment just with my mobile phone, and unfortunately there's a crack on the video, on the camera part of the phone, so unfortunately light doesn't reflect off it pretty good, so you'll see that occasionally. So, once again, apologise, but still the audio is good quality, and I guess that's all that matters, in my opinion, at this time, I guess. Anyway, hope you enjoy. Welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. I'm chatting to the president of the Nepean Ducks, Darren White. Darren, introduce yourself.
Hi there, Darren from the Nepean Ducks. Been with the club since 2014. Became president in 2015.
Yep.
And hoping to do it again in 2020.
Yeah, nice. And we were talking before, you're a player. You're still playing?
Yeah, so still playing. Been playing, my first season was in 2009.
Yep.
And then I had a few years off. And 2014 is when the Nepean Ducks got formed.
Yep.
So I went down to a training session and then got back into it. So
nice.
Been playing ever since.
Yeah, so. And you grew up around Erskine Park, St Clair?
Yeah, Erskine Park, St Clair in Western Sydney. So been around Penrith. I lived in Glenmore Park for a bit, Jordan Springs.
Yeah.
Been out west all my life.
Oh, nice. And so you mentioned the Nepean Ducks 2014 getting started. So you go down as a player. How did you find out about the club, how they started?
So I found out about the club. There was a club called the Penrith Outlaws. They've been around since the late 90s, early 2000s. Before that, they were called the Penrith City Chiefs. So that club was around until 2011, 2012, and they disbanded. So I started with a club called West Sydney Pirates in 2009. I wanted to play for a Penrith team, but the year that I went down in 2012, they didn't have anything. So they said we're going to come back. So they kept me in the loop, and the 2014 season they rebranded and came back as the Nepean Ducks. So I just found out when training was and went down and started playing again.
And you then find yourself in this role. So how did the role come about from you just turning up as a player to taking on more of a senior role?
Yeah, so to be honest, I was a player. I didn't know anyone in the team, but with the role that I have as a job as a project manager, I manage everything to get a task done. Through 2014, it was a pretty bad season in terms of behind the scenes. There was a lot of angst in the club at a high level, and just before the start of the season, the president and the treasurer walked away from the club. So we essentially had no one, and we played our second game of the season, and a few of the senior guys in the team came to me and they're like, we're going to hold an emergency meeting, and we want you to put your hand up as president.
Nice.
And I'm like, right, eh?
Yeah.
Right. Don't have any qualifications to do so, but they thought that I could do it, and I guess.
Did they just know like what you did for your job, and did they just feel as though that was a natural thing for you to sort of take over?
I would hope so. Yeah. I would hope they see the type of person that I was, off the field, but also on the field. I'm always helping out. I'm always wanting to help the club in any way that I can. So I guess only being there for a year, they could see that, and they wanted someone to lead, and I guess no one else wanted to do it. So that's probably had something
Last
to do
man
with
standing.
Harry's come to say hello.
And so you talk about playing, you're talking as far back as 2009.
Yep.
So you've obviously had an interest in the sport of gridiron.
Yep.
Where did that start?
Funnily enough, it started with Madden. A lot of
I hear that story.
a lot of people that start the game. That's where they first find out about it, with PlayStation or Xbox. You play Madden, and it was simply that I'd been playing Madden for a couple of years, and then I just had a thought where I wonder if they play it here. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
So I did some Googling, and I found some clubs and sent an email away, and then I went down to a training session and started playing. So
nice.
the thing about gridiron is that everyone that wants to play, there's a role on the field for you. There's a role in the team. So, that's our philosophy at the Ducks. We don't want to turn anyone away. If you're willing to come down and learn, we'll put in the time to give you, what you need.
Oh, nice. And so you talk about, how you got into it. That's generally how a lot of people get into the sport of gridiron.
It's that, and it's the NFL. The more recently, when you've had people like Jared Hayne, and you've got Valentine Holmes that went over from rugby league. We get some rugby league guys that see those guys go over, and then they see that we have teams in Sydney or in New South Wales. So they contact us and want to play. They want to try something different. There's also guys that AFL kickers are then over there being punters over in the NFL. So there's a lot of avenues. We have the junior program, so it's 16 to 19 year olds, and throughout our league there's a few players that actually get selected for colleges to go actually play college football, and then have the opportunity to play at a higher level. So there's a guy called Jesse Williams. He went through the Queensland juniors.
I think I remember.
And then he actually went to one of the top schools, went to Alabama, went to one of the top schools, and he ended up winning a Super Bowl with the Seahawks a few years ago. So, there's a few players that have made that transition all the way through college. Adam Gotsis is another one. He's over there at the moment.
Oh, okay.
So, there's more and more AFL players or people that can kick that are getting recruited by colleges now and getting into the league that way as well. So,
do you have many people? Because when's the season? When do you guys play your games?
So our season is generally from mid to late August until mid December.
Okay, yeah.
So
do you get players sort of playing two codes at the same time?
Yeah, so it makes it easier to get those players. So a lot of the football players that we have are paid players. They play A grade, and or they play a high level rugby or something like that.
Yep.
And so they're not going to turn down money to come play NFL. So us having a season that starts after the rugby league and rugby union seasons is something that helps us. And it helps them in the off season that for their other sport that they're still getting some level of fitness.
Yeah. And do you find, because obviously we've seen like league players head over and try and attempt, do you find that in terms of the retraining for a different game, you can even think about someone like Falau going from rugby league to AFL, and how like you look at him in NRL and everyone was like, oh, he'd definitely make it an AFL, but went to AFL and it's totally different sort of skill set that's required. Do you find that's the case with a lot of the sort of leagueies, I would say?
Look, there is a bit of a learning curve. It depends on the sort of position that they play. So we get a lot of front rowers and that will play on our defensive or offensive line. There's a lot of nuances in that position to learn, but they generally have the athletic ability and quickness that they can pick it up quite quickly.
Okay, yep.
There's our actual running back is an ex-rugby league player, and there's a big transition to play running back as opposed to rugby league, because rugby league's all about speed, whereas playing gridiron is all about patience. So as a running back, you want to be patient and find the hole, and then go and attack it. Whereas they're used to just hitting a line and trying to break through it. Whereas you've got a wall of people, you're not going to get through that. So you've got to wait for your offensive line to open up that gap so that you can get through it. So learning that sort of aspect. Holding the ball is another one. You have to hold the ball differently, because otherwise it'll pop out.
Hold the ball differently?
Yeah, so rugby league, you just carry it like a loaf of bread, but you want sort of 4 points of contact. You want your index finger on the tip of the ball. You want to rest it on your bicep. You want to bring it in, and then for contact, you want that fourth, putting it over the top.
Is that why you see a lot of them?
So that it doesn't pop out. You also want to catch the ball away from your body, because you got the pads on. If you try and catch like in rugby league like this, it's just going to bounce straight off. So there's a few nuances to learn, but most guys that are playing, your A grade or high level rugby, they have athletic ability to pick it up pretty quickly for the level that our game plays at.
And have you found any players sort of go away from their original sport, or rugby league or AFL, and just gone straight into the Nepean Ducks?
There's been a couple younger that just make the decision. But for the most part, if they're getting that money from rugby league, they're still gonna want to, as long as they can, get that extra money.
And so, talking about the Nepean Ducks, how many teams do you guys currently have?
So we got 3. We've got the men's, which is 18 plus, the Colts, which is 16 to 19. And last season 2019, we had our first women's team.
Oh wow.
So that is 16 and over as well. Cool. They actually had a great season. They went one game away from the championship, which for the team was 95% rookies, never played a game of gridiron before. So they did really, really well for their first season. So we're looking for big things in 2020.
And how's the interest in the sport and the club within sort of Western Sydney, Penrith area?
We're pretty active on social media. So we have a guy who does a lot of Instagram posts and Facebook and putting events out. So we get a lot of engagement through those posts. It's sometimes hard to translate that through to people actually coming, because once you make the decision to come, that's the hardest thing. If someone comes down, 90% of the time they keep coming back. It's getting that person to come down for the first place. It's that something different. It's that change. But once they actually come, it's you love the game. So we had just over 50 on the books for the men's team. We had 30 for our Colts. They actually were runners up in the state championship last year. Just got pipped by UTS 28-24 in the final. And our women's team had 18 players on the registration form. So, for a club, we're growing every year. We started in 2014 just a men's team, and we introduced the Colts in 2016. And then 2019 we've introduced the women's. So we haven't tried to go too big too soon. We just once you get something established, you let it run for a couple of years, introduce the next thing. So the last piece of the puzzle was getting the women's team, because it was a big thing for us to have every team catered for. So we're starting to get there. The men's team made the playoffs for the first time in history last year. So all 3 teams were in the postseason. So as a club, we're getting a core group of players that are, really helping the club get a lot better. And the Colts, they've been together for quite a while. So when the Colts first started, 15 was the age group. So they upped the age to 16 last year, but before that it was 15. So our quarterback, Lachlan Bignell, he's been with the club since he just turned 15. He's got one more year of Colts left, so he's going to have 5 years of Colts.
Yeah.
And then he's going to have a wealth of knowledge to come into the men's team. So we definitely try and get young kids in. Yeah. Really develop them through the Colts so that they're ready for the men's. Yeah. And if there's people that come and they're 18 or 19, we'll always send them down to Colts to get them ready.
Gotcha.
So that they get a feel for football. If they've never played before, you get them in Colts, get them, accustomed to the game before bringing them up to men's.
Cool. And you mentioned, so with the men, you got about 50. Yeah. Colts 30. And the women's 18, roughly. So what sort of number ideally would you like to see for each of those grades?
Look, 50 is a good number for men. Now I say we had 50 on the books, but injuries and people not being able to make games and stuff, we had sort of in the 35 to 40 range on game day, depending on what game it was. Colts 30 is a pretty good number because you've got 9 men. So in men's it's 11, which is a full field.
Oh, yep.
The Colts is 9 man, and the women's is a 7 man. So we had 18, which is the number that you need. I'd like to see in the early 20s. Yep. This year for the women. I'd like to see 30 to 35 for Colts, and if we can stay at that 50, that's good. But our main focus is trying to get a core group that are always coming to training, always wanting to help out, and year by year we add a few more people to that core group. So there's we started where we'd only have 10 or 15 get to training, and then we had 15 to 20 turn up to training, and last year we're getting in the 20 to 25 range. So if we can keep growing that's where our game differs from a lot of other games. You need to train. You need to know what you're doing on that field. So if you're not at practice, you're not knowing how to read the playbook, you're not installing the plays.
So you can't just growing up just turn up on Saturday, Sunday, and
exactly.
Yeah, you can't do that, eh?
I mean, I played soccer for 20 years, and my last 5 or 6 years, we never had training because it was just all age kick around. Yeah. But as soccer, you can do that because there's nothing really that you need to focus on too much. But there's design plays on both offense and defense that you need to learn. Yes. And you need to know what you're doing. The quarterback needs to know that the route that you're going to run. Yeah. So that sort of thing we're trying to really build with getting more and more people there to training every week.
And so the 3 teams, what are the comps? The Sydney-wide comps they play?
Yeah, so there's teams from the Central Coast down to Wollongong. There's 10 teams across the competitions, but not every team has a team in each competition, if you know what I mean. So, the Central Coast team last year only had a women's team. Central West Giants had a women's and a Colts. The West Sydney Pirates have a men's and a Colts. So there's not too many within the league that have. I think there's 4 or 5 within the league that have every team catered for. So we're one of those, which is really good.
Okay, that's good.
Really good. So that's what we want to be moving forward, having one from everyone to offer.
Do you know if obviously the body? What's the governing body for
Gridiron New South Wales?
Gridiron New South Wales. Do you know? I don't know if you would know, but have they got sort of a plan that they're looking in terms of growing the game?
Look, there's always talk about growing the game. They have the AGM next week, next Sunday, which I'll be in attendance as the president. So these are sort of things that we table. We did have a discussion last year at the AGM about ways to grow the game, which They've had 12 months, so we'll see what they've come up with in those 12 months. There is every other state has a competition as well. So this year there is the national championships going on, which is actually on the Central Coast this year. So New South Wales going to have a team, Queensland, Victoria, South Australia, and WA. So they'll all have a team. Men's and women's is going to be at the same venue at the same time. So we're going to have about 600 athletes from around the country come in and play. So we've got players, including myself, going through the selection at the moment. So training started. We're trying to make the team. We've got people from our women's team that are trying to make the women's team as well. So there's levels to the game that you can get to if you want. There is a national team as well. That gets selected from these national championships
and represent Australia.
Represent Australia at the World Championships. So that was actually supposed to be last year. Sorry, it was supposed to be last year in Wollongong, but there was a couple of teams that pulled out. I think Canada and one other country pulled out, so they had to cancel the tournament as a whole. But there's from around the world. There's a full IFAF championship.
Oh, cool.
Which is really good. But unfortunately, with our sport, you have to pay for those things. So there is no sort of government or federal help. So if you selected for the state team or for the national team, you have to pay your way to go represent your country.
So that was going to be where I was going to go next, was the whole, I guess, the funding for the sport, but even from individual point of view, like playing at the game of gridiron, compared to some of the other sports, what's the sort of cost for someone to get into gridiron?
It depends really. So we spend a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of money on collecting gear so that people can get into the game. So we have a back catalogue of helmets and shoulder pads that we loan out to new players. Now, excuse me, we don't let people use them year on year if you're in the sport for two years or more. So we'll sort of give your first 2 years a bit of saving grace, but if you're going to keep playing on, it's time to get your own gear. So depending on your budget, you can get a helmet for $200 to $250 up to $800 if you want to. It depends. And shoulder pads you can get anywhere from $100 up to $500. It all depends on your budget on how much. And our rego last year for men's was $500 a season, which gets you training shirt, training shorts. All your match fees are covered under that, so you don't some sports you have to pay every week to pay for refs. Like everything's covered, so there's no more to pay. So there is an expense, but we have payment plans available. And obviously having the gear also helps get new people in, because your first season, if you're going to buy gear, is always your most expensive. Because you could be spending $500 to $1,000 on pads and helmet. If you hate the sport, it's a waste of money. But if you love it, it's not something that you have to buy every year. Your helmet can last 5 years.
Cool.
Pads can last the same as long as you look after them. So.
And do you find that cost associated is something that deters maybe people away, or
some people it does, but we find that people are always going to pay for something that they want to do. If there's something in this world you want to do, you're going to find a way to be able to do it. That's why we offer our rego, we offer payment plans, so that we're not always expecting people to pay up front. You can either pay half now and half when the season starts, or if you're paying $50 a week for 3 months, as long as that's consistent, it's fine.
Yeah.
So we want people to be able to play, and that was why we spent so much money on actually buying the helmets and shoulder pads, so that's an expense that if you want to try it, come and try it. We've got some gear. We can we can help get you on the field.
And a lot of that gear is, I'd have to say, maybe imported. Would it be a lot of it?
Everything comes from overseas, one way or another.
Yeah.
There is a lot of activity on buy, swap, sell pages where people are selling their gear. So if we see a helmet that looks good, we'll buy it. It doesn't matter what color, and then we can spray paint it and spray paint it black. And shoulder pads, it doesn't matter. We'll buy them, and they're under the jersey anyway, so it doesn't matter. If you've got a pair of pads, that's what you need.
Yeah, cool. And sponsor, obviously, you said there's no funding from like government bodies or anything, so a lot of it does come down to, I guess, getting sponsorship.
Yeah, it does. So our major sponsor is Panthers, the leagues club. So they've been our sponsor since 2016, which is really good. And we had a new sponsor on board this year, or 2019, called Opie Group. They're a local manufacturing company in Emu Plains.
Oh, nice.
And then we have people that donate time that we constitute a sponsorship. So we've got a trainer who's Sid from Performance Chiropractic. So he's a sponsor of ours, and Endzone Performance Training. He's actually one of our defensive coaches, but he owns a gym, and any wet weather practices are there. We run combines there. We run fitness clinics there. So, we get a lot of help through that. But we're always looking for more sponsors. Helps us be able to do what we need to do to run the club.
Did you have any interest playing like league or rugby or anything? Because you said you played soccer.
Yeah.
And then, playing this as a contact sport, so.
Yeah, so I wanted to play league when I was a kid, and I was never allowed until I was, I think I turned 15, and my mum was like, "Oh, you can play now if you want." And I'm like, I haven't played before.
Yeah.
Before this, how am I going to just start at 15? But then I played gridiron at 23, so I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't need a background in contact sport, but just have a go.
And do you support a team in the NFL?
Yeah, so Philadelphia Eagles are my team.
And are they good, bad?
They're, they won the Super Bowl in the 2017-18 season, so that was good. Very up and down though. Our quarterback's always injured, so we can't get a lot of consistency.
Yeah, because you can't deny the game and its popularity and how big it is, and obviously that could help. That helps too with people coming, because they watch it on TV and they're like, "Oh, I want to play that."
That's right. Yeah.
And that popularity helps you guys out.
Yeah, so we've, on the back of the Super Bowl was on Monday.
Yeah.
So on the back of that, we've done an Instagram post to now, if you're interested, you just watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We play it here. If you're interested,
cool.
Contact us for more information.
Yeah.
So we've had about 10 or so messages.
Oh, nice.
For people.
Yeah.
And almost half of those have been for the women's team, which is good. So hopefully we get some more women coming down this year.
So I guess that the goal of the club is just to continue to grow what you've got now with the 3 teams.
Yeah. So I mean, ideally, our Colts are definitely the strongest point we've got at the moment. Just there's a lot of guys that have been together in that team for 3 or 4 years. So they gel well together. They're really, they were so close last year to winning it all. So goal for them is to get one step further.
Yep.
Our women's team were 1 game away from the championship. So if they can get to the championship, that would be amazing. And our men's team making the playoffs, if we can, build on that and get deeper into the playoffs, then that's just continue to grow and eventually get a championship in every competition.
And I guess continue to grow the name of the Nepean Ducks, because prior to I think I saw one of my friends maybe post something that you guys were playing Cambridge Park,
Kingswood.
Kingswood.
Yeah,
Kingswood.
Yeah, Kingswood is our Doug Rennie field. That's where we play our games.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we play on Saturdays, and we had four home games last year and a playoff. So it's good to have a venue where it's local.
Yeah,
and we invite anyone. You don't have to be associated with the team. There's games all day. Come down and check out the sport, see what it's all about.
And that's where you guys train as well?
No, we actually train at Cranebrook.
Oh, okay.
So Cranebrook Park, which is the cricket oval there. We train there. This year it'll be Mondays and Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So that'll start early June for our pre-season. Get some fitness in. Start installing playbooks.
Yeah.
And then mid to late August is when the season will kick off.
Oh, okay, cool. Is it like around the same where they do the AFL training as well?
It's not that field. It's off Castlereagh Road, so it's on Cranebrook Road.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just near the Regatta Centre there. There's an oval by itself. That's our training field there.
And just there's in the Sydney wide comp, there's only the 3 different grades, was it?
Yeah, so there is only the 3 grades. So there's the men's, the Colts, and women's.
And is there any chance, depending on how the game grows, that you can see it go younger, or are we getting into like a bit of a safety issue there? Maybe
there's talk at the moment of possibly doing a younger grade. We do have people ask. A lot of it comes down to coaching and time and field availability. So there is, I know that the Northern Sydney Rebels, they do a juniors competition, which is just one night a week. They do 8 to 15-year-olds, and they group them together and do some skills, and then have a little, I think it's 5-on-5 or 7-on-7.
Yeah.
So they do that. At the moment, we just don't have the resources to be able to facilitate.
It's just going to be a matter of, as the game grows, which do you feel, you'd say it's continuing to grow?
It is in some regards, and it's not in others. So we've had 4 men's teams fold in the last 2 years, which hasn't been good. Numbers wise, it's kind of stayed the same, but people have, for whatever reason, left the clubs they're at, and the numbers dwindle.
Yeah.
So we actually had a team last year fold halfway through the season. Injuries and lack of player interest throughout the season meant that they just had to call it quits.
Yeah, that's a shame.
So there was 2 teams that were in 2018, didn't field a team at all in 2019, and end of 2017 another men's team folded. So four in the last 2 years hasn't been great.
Okay, so maybe it's just that it's still maybe stagnant, you would say. Maybe
I'd say that it's numbers wise, I'd say it's probably stagnant, because the teams that are getting fielded, they have greater numbers. The core people from those clubs that have folded, that still want to play, have found teams. So because the Sutherland Seahawks was the men's team that folded last year, we offered that anyone that still wanted to play could come and play for us if they wanted to. So we had 4 guys from there come across and finish out the season with us. And I've told them that if they don't field a team this year, they're more than welcome to come back. So we'll help out anyone who wants to play anywhere.
So for next season, if anyone is interested in playing gridiron for the Nepean Ducks, what would you say that the best thing they should be doing?
The best thing is to reach out on Facebook or Instagram, send us a message. Ask any questions that you've got. We'll provide as much information as we can. Keep an eye on the Facebook page, because we'll have an info day and a combine day, which is like what they do for the NFL. Just some skills and see where people are at, and it's also just a bit bit of fun. So that'll be coming up in April, and then our training will kick off in June. So
Yeah.
if there's any questions in the meantime, just shoot us a message and we'll answer you as quick as we can.
I'll link all the details in the show notes.
Yep.
And in the video as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say thank you for taking the time to
No worries at all.
talk about the Nepean Ducks. And yeah, all I can say is good luck for the next season and good luck for the game. Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully it can grow, because it's, the interest in it. It
Mhm.
sounds like it's people are interested in it, and I'm really interested in just giving everybody more options when it comes to playing sport. Not everyone
Mhm.
has to play league. Not everyone has to play rugby or soccer. There's games that people can play that they may have an interest in,
Yeah,
but it's just a matter of finding them and getting to them and growing them. So
that's it. The gridiron's good for the big men. We always need big men. So the offensive and defensive line, we need them. So
a lot of big men in Penrith.
that's it. We need some of them.
No worries. Anyway,
All right.
thank you, Darren.
No worries. Thanks for your time.
No worries. Once again, thank you, Darren, for coming onto the episode. As I said towards the end there, I've linked all the details for the Nepean Ducks in the description below. If you've got any interest in possibly playing, or even any interest in becoming a sponsor for the club, all the details are there. Just follow them. Get in contact with Darren. He'll be more than willing to talk to you, whether you do have an interest in playing or becoming a sponsor potentially. And yeah, if you can do me a favor, just hit the subscribe button, and that'd be great. And a couple of episodes here that might be of interest to you in the sporting area. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you next week. See ya.